Today, I want to share with you the personal habits that I have adopted in my personal life that had a direct positive impact to my career. I don't think we realize how much our personal habits and our personal life have a lot to do with how we show up to our careers and how taking care of ourselves directly translates to how we act and think at work. So, here are the habits that I have adopted that had a direct positive impact on how I approach my career. Number one, therapy. I go to therapy every other week for at least 20 minutes, even if I have nothing to talk about. I look at therapy as if it were the gym, but for the mind. I do this since about 2 years ago because I had a lot of issues that were holding me back in the personal sense that were honestly also holding me back in the professional sense. It helped me identify how my lack of self-esteem, my self-loathing, the lack of security that I had in myself directly reflected in how I communicated, how I led, how I approached work, even how I treated people. So therapy helped me with security in myself. It helped me improve my confidence in how I communicate, and it helped me start being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Another thing it did, it helped me minimize my anxiety and that guilt complex that I had that led me to say yes to everything and the constant need to meet everyone's expectations that led to me working ridiculous hours, even to the detriment of my own mental health. Therapy also led me to meditation and breath work that helped me a lot with my composure and dealing with stressful situations. Next habit. I started prioritizing my sleep. Back in grad school, I would sleep 0 to maybe 3 to 4 hours a night because I was so busy working on my master's, but I was also working a full-time job and I had to balance both of those. That led to me constantly not getting enough sleep. And then as I moved on to my professional career, the same thing happened. I was working ridiculous amount of hours. I was commuting an hour and a half every day, and I was getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep every single night. The thing about this was that I was proud of it. Sleeping less meant that I was busy all the time, that I was very productive, and I just had no time for sleep. And this was something to be proud of for whatever reason, which is just not true. Now, I make sure to get at least 8 to 9 hours of sleep. I go to bed very, very early. I do like to wake up very early, but I make sure that I get that quality amount of sleep because guess what? My mind is more present and the value that I produce at work is of higher quality. The other thing that sleeping well does for you is it helps with regulating your own emotions. So if you're in stressful situations or high emotions are running because of whatever's going on at work, you are able to regulate your emotions and work through the problem. But if you are running a very low amount of sleep, you actually struggle a lot to maintain your composure. Next habit. Once I figured out my mental health, then I started prioritizing my physical health. So that meant starting with my body and getting some sort of movement every single day. I started with taking long walks in the middle of the day. So during my lunchtime, I would go out and walk around the lake, or I would start taking meetings on the phone, the ones that I didn't need to be watching my screen. That meant that I actually had to get a really good headset because as you're walking, you don't want that external noise to be picked up by your microphone. And you also want to be able to be present in the meeting and not sound like you're distracted. I also try to make sure to go to the gym at least 3 times a week. I'm not very obsessive about this. I just, every time I have the time, I go to the gym. If not, I at least get my 10,000 steps in. Then eating healthy. When I started working, I started eating out a lot. I finally had my own money and I didn't want to restrict myself because I had lived such a restricted life before then where I couldn't eat out whenever I wanted. I also didn't want to cook, and so I just wanted to make life a little bit easier after work, so I ate out a lot. This felt luxurious at first, and it felt great to be able to do that for myself at first, until I realized that I wasn't eating whole foods, that the food was actually making me groggy, that I was gaining weight very quickly. And so I slowly started going back to the way I ate in my childhood. My mom cooked every single night. She cooked with fresh ingredients, and it was always a very delicious, simple meal made of fruits and vegetables and lean meats and sauces and things like that. So I started going back to the way my mom cooked when I was a child. And now I actually see that as more of a luxury, being able to cook with organic ingredients, cook with fresh ingredients, and come home and actually cook that meal, which gives me a little bit of a a flow motion, like some time with myself when I'm cooking after work. So when I combined physical health with eating healthy, it definitely improved my feeling of being sluggish and a little bit slow during the day. It helped with my clarity of mind, and it directly impacted my energy at work. Similar to sleeping more, it felt like I was more present, and it also felt like I could communicate a lot clearer at work. Next habit. You're going to hate this one so much, but I started minimizing coffee. I stopped drinking coffee every single morning, and I stopped drinking it purely for productivity reasons. So to feel like you have energy in the morning and like you can actually work through the day. I started replacing coffee in the morning with stronger spiced teas like cinnamon and vanilla, things like that. And then in the afternoon, I started drinking herbal teas, so chamomile and ginger teas. And if I was really, really in need of a boost, I started drinking green teas in the afternoon. Very rarely though, because I'm so sensitive to caffeine now. But I didn't cut out coffee completely. Now I drink it recreationally. So, on my slow Sunday mornings, I make a really good cup of coffee, or when I'm drinking café con leche with my mama. By doing this, it reduced a lot of my anxious feelings and feeling high-strung at work. It also weirdly got rid of my low energy levels in the afternoons. So instead of needing 3 additional cups of coffee to get through the afternoon work session or the afternoon meetings, instead I could easily work through them pretty concentrated without feeling that constant need to go get a 5th cup of coffee. Next habit. I started romanticizing my mornings. After a while, after working many, many years in your job, in an office job, in a corporate job, you really start resenting it because you start feeling like you're spending your entire life in that job, right? Your entire time in that office, and there's nothing outside of it. Once I figured out that if I started eating healthy, if I started sleeping more, and that the value of my work was of higher quality because of these things, so I was working a little bit less, that meant that I could take on a little bit more time for myself in the mornings. And I would just, grab a blanket, my tea, and sit outside, watch the sunrise, watch the hills, watch the water. I live on a hill, so I could oversee the waters and the hills and listen to the birds, take a little bit of time to meditate, do a little bit of breath work. If it's too cold outside, maybe I'll be inside journaling. Maybe I'm going for a walk outside. Being outside really first thing in the morning is actually very refreshing for me, and it's a really good way to start your morning. So this little habit really helped me with reducing that dread feeling every morning on my way to work, and it helped me walk out that door energized and ready to take on the day because I already spent some time for myself. It felt like I already did something other than work during the day. Next habit, I started taking supplements for my brain. As I got older and life got busier, I really felt like I was losing a little bit of my retention ability and that sharpness that I used to have when I was younger at work. So I started taking vitamins and supplements. I do wish I could get them from food, but sometimes it's just a lot easier to get them from supplements. My favorite ones are magnesium. Like I mentioned, good quality sleep is very important to me, and magnesium really helps you with getting that deep, deep sleep. My second favorite one is vitamin D. It helps a lot with brain cell activity and just muscle functions and your immune health, things like that. And then I really like to take lion's mane. It's known for helping with memory retention. Next habit, actively changing my thoughts from a negative thought process or overanalyzing to a more positive thought process or more productive thought process. This one literally means that if I have a negative thought, something that is a little bit toxic, I make sure to convert out loud that thought into something more productive or more positive. I would literally tell myself, stop analyzing that situation, and I would try to focus on something else and move on. Remember that your thoughts are your reality, but you can train your thoughts. So it is a decision that I consciously and actively have to make to change my negative thought process. I used to speak a lot of negative thoughts with, those surrounding me because it was a way of connecting with each other, right? But it could quickly become very toxic. Now, I try to minimize any negative thought. I make sure I do not engage in office gossip, and I refrain myself from speaking poorly about anything or anyone. And if there's a situation that is truly bothering me that I need to talk through, I do it with someone very close, my best friend, my work best friend, whomever it is. I talk it through, but I make sure that I recognize that I'm being negative and look for the positive or the productive outcome from it. All right, I probably have a million more of these habits that I've adopted as I grow into myself, but it would be an extremely long video, so we'll leave it for the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it a little bit interesting. Thank you for staying till the end, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.